taking a look at some streaming from home options this week, starting with The Rental, which is also technically available for rental. And it's the directorial feature debut of Dave Franco. It stars Dan Stevens, Alison Brie, who is married to Dave Franco, Sheila Vand, Jeremy Allen White, and Toby Huss. And, okay, so it's not The Rental, it's a kind of horror thriller-y film. It takes place in a rental house in the Pacific Northwest somewhere, and two couples go on vacation together, and stressful things ensue. This is not typically my favorite type of genre. I don't like horror. I don't like suspense typically. So, I might not have been the audience for this anyway. That being said, there is not a lot of nuance to this film. I feel like every character telegraphs what they're saying or thinking way too early, way too blatantly. Like there's no subtlety to it, right? Individually, all of these people are good actors. Again, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know a lot about Jeremy Allen White, but I know Dan Stevens is a good actor. I know Alison Brie is a great actress. I know Sheila Vand's a great actress. And I know Toby Huss is a great actor. You can't blame that necessarily. And they're definitely trying, but the script is just subpar. And of course, it is co-written by Dave Franco and Joe Swanberg. And I feel like there were a lot of moments where they read something about, cinematography in a book, and they're like, we're going to write a scene just so we can have it take place in this setting, and therefore we can take advantage of this and have, foggy lights and a lot of it's horror tropes, right? But there was nothing new or innovative or motivating about this. And maybe this is where my lack of personal affinity for the genre affects it, because I don't care about slasher picks just for the sake of murdering or, scary things. And I want my characters to have motivation. I want the boogeyman. Unless the boogeyman's a monster from another dimension, I need you to have some sort of motivation. And that was severely lacking in this. And then there's this whole plot line or subplot about race. And, I think it's trying to throw red herrings, but it's heavy-handed. And it takes a lot to get a movie made, but I didn't see a lot of value in this, honestly. It also takes place in a rental home, and I was like, okay, well, I think if I had, if we were in a time where we could travel right now and could be staying in things like Airbnbs, maybe this would be spookier, but because we were all trapped at home, the likelihood of this is severely limited, and so I feel like that might take away from some of the suspense and feelings of stress about this. So if you watch the trailer and you think, you know what, this is my cup of tea, I'm willing to overlook these factors, I'm fine, I just need something new to watch, this might be fine. But if you are considering it and are not necessarily a fan of the genre, or you're on the fence, pass on this one. I'm only going to give it 2.5 out of 5. The other film I have this week is Radioactive, and it comes out on Amazon Prime. And the good news is, if you have Amazon Prime, it's free, because I wouldn't recommend paying for this. It stars Rosamund Pike as Marie Curie, and there was something about the performances and the direction that I really struggled with this film, and I grappled with it a lot. So Marie Curie, undeniable genius, 2-time Nobel Prize winner, first woman to receive the Nobel Prize. And I don't think protagonists on film for women shouldn't have to be likable. You have plenty of male-led films where the protagonists are not likable. There shouldn't be an imbalanced expectation that all women have to be accommodating and pleasant and all this stuff. I like that she is hard-hitting, that she is very focused on her science in this film, that she is just like, this is what matters. They do focus on her relationship with her husband, Pierre Curie, who's played by Sam Riley. But you can be an unlikable character and still be compelling to watch, and she was not compelling to watch. There was a freneticness to this movie that I don't think worked. They kept cutting away to the impacts of what, her discoveries had. She is responsible for discovering radioactivity. And they would cut away to things like, okay, great. Well, this led to x-rays and chemotherapy and all of these things that are productive. And then it led to, bombs and horrible things like that. But she doesn't feel the impact of that. It's just to impose it on us as the viewer. But the freneticness and the cutting of it just doesn't really work for me. Also, this film does not do a good job of providing information where it does need to be clear and it does need to be provided. You don't have to, unlike The Rental, where it gives too much information, this one I'm like, there are some very clear, unequivocal historical points that you need to be clear about. Like, this film made it seem like she didn't actually receive the prize in 1903, which she did. She also received it again in 1911. The way it presented it, it made it seem like, her husband got nominated, he pushed for her to get nominated, and then she didn't get it. But actually, the actuality is she didn't attend the ceremony. She has a romantic entanglement with someone, and it's not clear that they're actually in a romantic relationship. And maybe it's the way that they're trying to have us discover this information, but the way it's presented is, quite frankly, confusing. And you don't want to confuse your audience in something that is very straightforward and very important to your plot. That doesn't need to be, and it doesn't, there's no advantage and no benefit to confusing your audience on this. So I feel like Marie Curie deserves a better biopic. She also has other, there are other representations of her on film and literature, et cetera. Also, I was like, oh, I want to know more about her. I want to know about it. This film also glosses over the science, but it gets very excited about the science. It's too many different directions, and none of them are executed well. I hope someday that we get to see like a great Marie Curie biopic. I haven't seen the other ones. Maybe they are great. Maybe I'll go back and watch them. But she's such an accomplished person. It's also crazy. Her family is so accomplished. Her daughter went on to win a Nobel Prize. Her other daughter technically didn't win one, but was married to a Nobel Prize winner and was heavily involved in humanitarian work. Her notes were so radioactive and that they cannot, they're in a lead box somewhere. Like you can't actually. The after effects of the actual impact of her work are so fascinating, and of course the impact. But I feel like reading the Wikipedia article on her was more compelling than watching the entire film on her, and that's a real failure. So unfortunately, I'm only going to give this 1.9 out of 5.